Got it.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Sorry, we had a little bit of a problem going live today. My goodness me. My name is Nancy Lombardo, and this is Enlightening Your Way. I am joined here today with my special guest, Michelle Gauer. Our topic is embracing the sacred. And I'm so excited to have Michelle here this evening. I'm just all out of sorts because things just didn't go right. So if you will just hold up for 1 second, I will just find what I need. Wow.
Well, thanks for having me.
What we do without live radio, right? So we are airing simultaneously live on Blog Talk Radio and here, of course, on the Lilydale Assembly official Facebook page. I am a full-time Lilydale resident. I'm a spiritualist and interfaith minister and healer. I'm the president of the Church of Living Spirit, which is an independent spiritualist church here in Lilydale. I'm also a military veteran and retired police detective with a combined 32 years law enforcement experience. I'm a group fitness instructor and yoga instructor, and wellness is my passion. My show is a combination of my many life experiences that will feature various topics and guests to help enrich one's mind, body, and soul on your pathway to healthy living. The show will also air on my Facebook page, Wellness with Nancy Lombardo, where my motto is protecting and serving your well-being. So like I said, this week, my special guest is Michelle Gauer. Michelle is a spiritual teacher, psychic medium, and author. Michelle's journey with spirit started many years ago as a body worker. As her knowledge deepened in energy work, she began receiving messages from spirit, which led her on a spiritual journey to make sense of it all. Michelle has traveled to explore Eastern philosophies and has studied mediumship at the Arthur Findlay Spiritual College in England. Michelle works with the realm of trance for her healing and mediumship, and she also enjoys working spiritually and psychically with art. Michelle is a licensed massage therapist, a Reiki master and teacher, a 200-hour Kundalini yoga instructor, a level 1 hypnotherapist, and a certified sound practitioner. And like I had said earlier, our topic this evening is embracing the sacred. First of all, Michelle, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for your patience in getting this started. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me, Nancy.
You're very welcome. So I'd love us to begin by you telling us a little bit more about yourself, maybe that I didn't put in our introduction.
Yeah, a title or a hat that I added now in the last year was actually author. I self-published a 54-card oracle deck called The Living Sacred Soul, which is my business's name. And I did all of the artwork myself and wrote like a 200-page guidebook with it. And that's available on my website, www.livingsacredsoul.com. And it's also available on Etsy. And I hope we get time today that I can pull some cards for people and give a reading.
Well, I'm going to love you to pull some cards. So first of all, you said you wouldn't mind sharing what you've been going through these last couple of years, and I know you've been going through a lot.
Yeah. Well, it all, I think that before we come to this physical plane, we chart out a plan. Like we know everything that's going to happen. And then we're born into this physical body and we forget. And that's the beauty of it. Because if we really knew what was going to happen, like we would say, no way.
You're right about that.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think all of us have had just kind of a crazy last 3 years, right? We had a pandemic, we were locked in our house. For me, that's really kind of when the madness started. Prior to the pandemic, I was just a regular, body worker that did a lot of energy work. And I actually went the first time to the Arthur Findlay College in the very beginning of the pandemic, like that January, right before they closed everything down. And I took a wonderful class. It was Healing Through Mediumship, which I think you'll understand. You know, a lot of us find mediumship through different ways, right? And for me, my access point was through my healing work. I dove really deep into Reiki and into different types of healing modalities. And I spent, just thousands of hours in a dark room working on people and not talking and being in a meditative state and channeling energy. And it was during that time, when I was channeling the energy where suddenly, I'd have someone from the other side, a loved one come through. And at first you think, oh my gosh, I'm crazy. And then eventually you find teachers that help you understand and you grow with it, right? And you understand, what's beautiful about this field is that there's so many different access points, and we all, our gifts really unfold in so many different ways, and they're so unique to each of us, right? That we can create this really beautiful way of working with people, and sharing that gift. For me, being a healer, the using the voice was always difficult because I think as healers, we're often very introverted, right? We're passive. And so I didn't have that explosive personality that we see within mediumship and someone who can do just really great evidential, in an open forum. And so I really dove into working with art and with orographs in the beginning. And that was for me a real comfortable way to give a reading, because I could tap in before the reading, and go into trance, and then I would see images, and it would be like, okay, well, why am I seeing this crow? What does that mean? Right. And we just see the images. It's like pieces of a puzzle. We don't have the front cover of the box. All we get are little tidbits, right? It's the person giving the gift to the sitter, where they're like able to put it together because it's their reading, it's their gift, right? So I use the orograph template, which I think we know what that is. It's reading done. We find it in spiritualists or spiritualism, where it's often done within like a circle, right? And so it kind of looks like this. And so I started doing orographs, and then I took that template and I started getting images. And I knew that they weren't orograph images. They were they were themed, and I didn't understand what was going on. This was right at the pandemic. And then, then we got all of the closures, right? And my business was closed, and that was really difficult for all of us to not, not be able to work and to have all of this time and not know how you're going to pay your bills. And so, I really took that energy that I had, and I started working with, these images and these themes that I was getting. And then it started to kind of unfold, and I realized that I was going to create an oracle deck. I would say in my psychic mediumship work, and because of the prior background with the Kundalini yoga, I often, my readings are much more, they're interactive and they're very spiritual in nature. And I always pull from Kundalini yoga because I believe in this ancient technology. Like, it has been transformative in my life. And so I have to share it. Anyway, as I was getting these images and all of these themes during this time of when, there wasn't a lot going on in my life, I really took it, and I mean, it took me several months, but I got all of the themes done. I'm trying to think of how I can put this into the story and not have this be a really long, drawn out story. Long story short, I got all of the themes done, and I was working on the actual workbook or guidebook. And for some reason, it was not coming to me. Like the images came really fast. Like they were they almost felt like it was downloaded. It was downloaded. But the book I really struggled with. And at that time, I was actually in the summertime doing readings at a spiritualist camp in the Midwest. And it was this, beautiful remote area. And I thought this will be the perfect place for me to finish this book. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get the images. I couldn't get the words. I just couldn't get the perspective. And then fall came. This was in 2021. Fall came, and then winter came, and I wasn't feeling very well, and I went to the doctor, and they basically said I was fine, and then I still wasn't feeling very well, and I ended up going to the emergency room, and within 3 days, I found out, or I was given the diagnosis of stage 4 lung cancer.
Can you imagine they told you at first that everything was fine?
Yeah, well, I mean, they knew everything wasn't fine. They told me I had pneumonia, and they gave me antibiotics. And what was going on is that the cancer was actually causing my fluid to build up around my heart. So when it was finally diagnosed, the emergency room said, "You're not going anywhere. We're waiting for the first cardiac bed to open up. We don't know when this is, because this is, once again, the height of the pandemic, and you could die at any time because the heart can't beat." And what was really interesting about that is I had gotten all of the cards back from so I created the deck, I created the cards, and I worked with an artist that cleaned them up, because I worked in watercolor, and watercolor is a difficult medium to work with, right? So I sent them to another artist who cleaned them up and digitalized them for the printer. And there was one card that I really liked how it turned out. And so I had saved that as my screensaver on my phone. And so I get rushed to, I live in the Midwest. I get rushed to like the best medical facility, I think, in the world, Mayo. And I'm getting all of these scans and these CTs. And this is when, every time I look at my phone, this is what I see. And if you can see this is a card that was downloaded. And it says heal or repeat. And there's a heart there, and there's fluid. There's water in it. And so like this is the beginning of where I'm starting to wonder if the world is real. Right?
You can't make that up.
Like, well, I can't make that up.
Mm-mm.
And I'm in the hospital, and my folks live in Florida, and you never want to call them unless like it's like we don't know what's going on, so there's no reason to call anybody right now. And I'm in a town where I don't live, so my husband's not there because we have lots of pets, and I have to go into surgery right away. I get the fluid drained off my heart. And then there's a series of tests for days, right? While they try to figure out what's going on. And I have a really interesting thing occur, because I'm, I mean, my whole world has just been upside down. But there is one point in particular where I'm waiting for an MRI scan. And I can't explain it other than it felt like a near-death experience, because my consciousness left and it went up above, and I became super aware of, the best way that I can describe it is the simulation. Like every person that I came in contact with, I realized that they really weren't there. They were just saying the same thing that they repetitively say to every single person. There wasn't really anybody there connecting with me. And even though my eyes were open and my vision was here, my comprehension of the whole thing was from above.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this feeling that I could check out if I wanted to. Like I could leave. I wouldn't have to live this way. And then there is this unbelievable realization that there's absolutely nowhere to go. That the only thing that we have is right here, right now, because we're infinite in nature. We are infinite. There is no past, there is no future, and we're all just living stories. And my story right now hit a big freaking pothole. But why? Big one. But then there's this realization also that it's, wow, let's let's ride this out. Let's see let's see what happens, right? So,
How does hearing stage 4 cancer, how does that sound to someone that does body work, that is so in tune with the body? How does that affect you hearing those words?
um, it's not even just stage 4 cancer, it's stage 4 lung cancer.
Exactly, that
Yeah,
comes out of
I
nowhere.
know. I
Yeah,
know. At first you think like, there's no way I can get out of this. And then, you know, there's a lot of like, cancer and cancer treatment is so different now. It's amazing what they can do. I'm an example of what they can do.
totally are.
Yeah. And I am so blessed that I have had this really great, unique journey. And I know so many incredibly gifted oracles and seers. And those are the people that I called, and healers who, said, you know what? You have the ability to change this. You have the ability to heal yourself. This does not need to end right now. And so, my diagnosis was, it was actually just one tumor in my left lung, but it had already gone to the posterior lymph nodes, and it was also in my brain. And within 2 weeks I had radiation on my brain, and I started chemotherapy 2 weeks after that, and immunotherapy. And I completed the chemotherapy like after 4 months, and I'm still on immunotherapy, and that will end at the end of this year. And I haven't had a reoccurrence. I'm stable, and I'm very thankful, and I'm very grateful for that. I think at first you think you're absolutely, you think it's the end and you face death. And after you've done that, you walk with death. And, in Buddhist philosophy, it's like, if you realize, there's a saying that says something like, if you realize that you will get sick and die, then you can begin to live.
Yes.
And yeah, and I would agree, because it puts you in a place where there is no more fear. What's there to fear?
And you're so young seriously, you're very young to get that kind of diagnosis. And you're also learned the power of healing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The power of healing, the power of healers, what we're capable of bringing ourselves out of is just incredible. It's just
And
incredible.
one thing too, what was really interesting is I had met someone at the Arthur Findlay College, whom I'm really good friends with, and this person said, I'm going to come to America and heal people with cancer, and I was like, good luck with that, right? And then when this happened, he messaged me and he said, oh, I didn't know it was you. And I'm like, yeah, me neither. And so, needless to say, I did work with someone who uses spiritualist healing, his clientele is working with people who have advanced disease. And even working with him, it was just so many unbelievable, surreal experiences along the way. When you're up against such adversity, like, you really have to embrace. We say sacred, and I know that's the topic of today's talk, but it's really about, to me, I use sacred and divinity the same. It's actually realizing that, oh, you know what? If there's a spark of God in me, I got to connect with that, because that is the only thing that's going to get me out of this.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Was the title of your oracle deck, did you already have that before your illness?
I did. And I will say that, once again, I went through chemotherapy during COVID. So you can't, you have no immune system, so you couldn't go anywhere. And I thought to myself, you know what? If I die, I'm getting this freaking deck done. This has got to get done. I'm not going to die and not have this deck done. And so the being in the space of complete, my husband was there every step of the way, and he self-isolated, to take care of me. But, you know, to be in a space where you don't have any contact with the outside world and you are facing death. I mean, that gave me a really great, unique perspective to write the guidebook.
Do you
It
feel
really
like
did.
the deck and the pictures and the art might have been some kind of premonition?
Absolutely.
You weren't
Absolutely.
you weren't even aware of what was.
Well, I'm very careful about what I draw and what I say, because I know I'm psychic. And, I'll be honest with you. A month before I got sick, I was at a friend's house and we were talking about a friend of hers who was battling cancer. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? If I ever get something really bad, like stage 4 lung cancer, something bad, I'm not fighting it. And a month later, there I was.
That's wow.
And it
So
doesn't come
powerful.
like, yeah, it doesn't, it wasn't like I just said, okay, let's fight it. Like, you have to think about it for a while. Like, this is, wow, this is gonna be a different way to live in the world, right? We live with a disease. It's gonna be different.
And when you say
Am I
fight it, you
strong enough to
literally
do
fight.
it? Huh?
I said, when you say fight it, you literally fought it
Mm-mm.
too.
I didn't fight it. That's not how you fight cancer. You love it.
Ah,
You love it with every single ounce of your soul, and you figure out why it was allowed to grow there in the first place.
that's
The
very
healer
interesting.
perspective is always there's, disease in the body. What did I need to heal? And what
Hmm,
did I bury?
hmm. I like that. I like that perspective for sure. I can tell you, I had heard of you. I had heard your name. People kept saying, you need to meet Michelle. You guys will get along so well. And I met you, about a month ago at a retreat. And I know when I walked into the room and I didn't know anybody, I was immediately drawn. I could have sit next to anybody, but where do I sit? I sit next to you, because I was drawn to you, because you definitely have a beautiful aura about you. And there's just something I'm sure now that people are very drawn to about you. And here you are, because you are a fascinating, incredible, strong, spiritual person, and you're here to teach us all now and to give us all different perspectives of what this is all about and time, and I'm grateful you're here with us and talking this evening for sure. So funny, one of my questions is, did you have a favorite card? Is the heart card your favorite card?
No, it is not. And my deck, I work with my deck now for my own, like every week I draw 6 cards from it and I let that out, and I let the cards play out, because they'll play out that week. Like, those themes will come up. And every time I get the healer repeat card, I'm like, oh, and not my favorite card to get. Not at all. Not even close.
Can we
That's
back
the
up just a second? For those that may not understand what an oracle deck is, can you explain what they are and the purpose of them?
Yeah, well, oracle decks really are just tools to guide us. I created this deck because, my readings are, I am a psychic medium, but I'm also a spiritual teacher. And so I believe that we always attract what, like that when I do readings, usually the people that I read for, we attract what that person wants, right? And so usually it's someone on a spiritual path who just feels like they're lost. And when we're on the spiritual path, I mean, it's a circle. It feels like you're never really going anywhere, but you are. The perspective's just changing. So the themes in my deck really work with the soul to open up a little bit faster. Like, we don't know where we're going, but if we follow, like to give you an example, like one card would be like respect. So if you pull this card, it's like, okay, what boundaries am I not enforcing? Respect, it starts with with yourself, right? Every time we say yes, when we secretly mean no, we're disrespecting ourselves. We're not speaking our truth. So it's those little things that we can incorporate every single week that will change the perspective a little bit faster.
Can you explain the artwork that goes with that with respect? The artwork you drew on that?
I'm trying to think. I kind of got, I don't know where that one went. I'll show you a different one. Like ego.
Okay.
Like ego.
I like
You
that.
know, we have our ego really is all about the projection, right? Like if we're spiritual beings in a physical body, we get really hung up on who I think you think I am. And we keep up that projection. And when we don't, we go to the grocery store and we don't have our lipstick on and our hair's a mess and we see people that we know, we go, oh my God, who cares? It's just a projection, right? So really getting rid of, we need to have the ego. We need to have that. It gives us protection and it helps us navigate the physical world with ease. However, we can stumble over it too. So, we have to, always just be aware that they're masks that we can take off.
Yeah, totally, for sure. You said you are an artist and you chose to do these in watercolors. What kind of artist are you specifically, would you say? And why?
Art is something the art aspect, I never really drew until I started doing autographs until this deck came.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay.
I know. I'll be honest with you. It's not great artwork, but it fits.
It's beautiful.
It works.
I love the colors. I like the softness of the watercolors for sure. Is that why you might maybe used water?
They're just cheap. And they're easy to use. You know what I mean? And then I eventually switched to a watercolor marker, which was even easier. Yeah. I don't normally do a lot of art. I occasionally will get my markers out or whatever and do a picture, but I just on a side note, I just completed the 44 images for a second oracle deck that I'm doing, and it's called The Journey of One's Soul. And the themes of that deck are all about the themes that came up when I was healing from cancer. So, the deck isn't just about that, but it's really about, when the rug is taken out from underneath that, how do we rebuild? How do we get back up on our feet and continue to walk forward? Anyway.
Great life lesson on that for sure. Great life
Yeah.
lesson. What is it about your illness that you think helped you complete your booklet? That the words all came together.
Oh, with the first booklet?
Yes.
Let's go back to the ego. Because that's the thing. When you face death, there's nothing there. There's no projection that you can give to, you're not gonna tough it out, you're not gonna fight it. You put down everything and you say, you surrender. And I think that the ability to surrender and to be incredibly vulnerable and to say, the only thing that's going to get me out of this is God. That gave me the perspective, that connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. So you didn't say if you had a favorite card in your deck.
I don't know if I would have a favorite. I do like the ego card.
Oh, cool.
I really
that's my thing. Ego.
The ego or
no.
Eagle?
Oh,
how about this one? Oh no, it's not. I like this one. Limitless.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Tap into your infinite potential. I truly believe that we all are limitless, and we read miracles happen to other people. Why can't one happen to me too, or you, right? But we have to believe that it can occur first.
Well, I would say you're a walking miracle right now.
I would say that I am very grateful to be here. Very grateful. I'm very happy and I'm very blessed.
Do you
And
feel that finishing this deck helped you through your process that you went through?
yeah, I do. I mean, once again, like I was diagnosed, and the first thing that I did was I closed all my business. I had two businesses. So I ran a retreat center, and I had a body work practice. And I was doing readings. I closed those businesses because I didn't think I was going to make it. And so, I mean, everything was gone. I had to rebuild from scratch. And, it's a very interesting process, right? Especially as you heal and then you push out to engage again with the world. But then there's a lot of mental stuff that comes with that, where it's like, oh no, and what if it comes back? But you have to do that. You have to continue on. And it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't, to me, I have a different relationship with it now. Like, it doesn't matter. I know that death was the price of admission to this physical world. Like, that was the only thing that was really guaranteed. And if it happens tomorrow, or if it happens a year from now, or if it happens 10 years from now, guess what? It's all freaking fantastic. Every moment is fantastic. I will also say this, the biggest gift of all of this was being able to understand just the importance of living in the present moment. That's all there is. That's all there ever will be after this lifetime, after this present moment. The moment I pass through that door, there'll just be another present moment. That's all there is. That's my point of consciousness. And so, how much of this life did I worry too much? I was too much in the past, or if I was too worried about what was happening in the future. Now, I just think about right now, and there's beauty there, and there's peace there, and there's happiness there. And that's where I choose to be.
Yeah. I cannot relate to you, of course, from having a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer, but I can definitely relate to you for being a police officer who carried a gun for 28 years, always walking out the door, never knowing if this was my last night, am I coming home? And it forced me to live in the moment of each and every day. And still to this day, it forces me to live in the moment of each and every day. And it's so important, like you said, it's so important not to try to live in the past, not to try to live too much in the future, just to live in this moment. And so many people don't. So many people don't.
Well, we're kind of trained that way not to. And then, we have these like phones now that, it's constantly, you're not really here. You're always escaping.
Yeah.
But, when the obstacle is so hard for your own personal consciousness to get their head around, like it was so hard to understand like what would happen or what was going to happen. And there was so much anxiety associated with it. I mean, the only place that I could find peace and happiness was, guess what? I'm just going to live here right at this moment in time. There is nothing else. You had to.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about this is, I had been a yoga practitioner for years. I had taught restorative first, and then, I went to India, and Kundalini had always been there since the beginning of my spiritual journey. Like everywhere I turned, it was always Kundalini, but I never really thought, I really fought becoming a practitioner of Kundalini because it's disciplined, and I just didn't know if my light was bright enough to teach that type of modality. And then 3 years ago, I decided that I was going to do the teacher training. And the one thing that's wonderful about Kundalini is you really meet where you resist. And so like I got very resistive to it, and I took a year and took a break and then went back to it. And we had to do like a project at the end and do like a lengthy lesson plan for classes. And I remember when I was in the hospital, I had gotten an email back about my homework, even though the class was done, and said, We had some questions, as we're, anyway, they were kicking back my lesson plan and saying, we should think you should do this. And I remember being like on my phone, like, I'm in the hospital dealing with stage 4 cancer. I would like to die a Kundalini instructor. And they did give me my certificate. And I remember my teacher telling me at that moment, oh, you've been gifted with the lesson of the present moment. And I didn't understand what she meant at the time, but through my healing process, I thought, wow, I was gifted with the lesson of the present moment. That is a gift.
Wow, that's beautiful. I mean, that is beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah, I was very excited to learn that you were Kundalini. You're right, it's very disciplined. I don't know if I have it in me. I love yoga. I love teaching yoga. It's like other yogis can kind of sense yogis, because there's a calmness that it's hard to explain what it is about us, that if you choose to live your lifestyle that way, it starts overflowing into all sorts of other things. But Kundalini is very special for sure. Very special.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you're in the hospital. That's all. I want my.
I know. Yeah. And, it was really, it's interesting because, even when I got out of the hospital, then I started, it was really a weird experience, because even though my body was so sick, it was like, I didn't feel like I was dying, like I felt like I felt like I was still alive. And I remember at one point, like I had, like in Kundalini, we use a breath of fire. So it's a real fast diaphragmatic breath. And so I was using breath of fire, and I ended up in the emergency room because I had aggravated my lung, and I had fluid on my lung. And I remember being like, oh my God, I can't even do my practice. This is, but I healed and I can do the practice. It's nice. But it's interesting. Like the universe took me down to my knees. For sure.
Yeah. I think you might have already answered this, but I'll ask it again in case you have something else you might want to add. But do you have any advice for people struggling with unforeseen or unexpected obstacles in their life?
So, I mean, I believe that we're the creator of it all. Find your divinity, connect to it, and believe that you can heal it. You can do it. I mean, we come to this world, we come to this physical plane to dream, to create, and to love. That's truly what our essence is. That's what our awareness is. Use it as an opportunity. And I know it really sucks when people say, oh, please don't tell me it was a gift. It's a gift. Whatever you're going through, it's a gift. If you can find the lesson in it, you can do something with it. You can alchemize it. You can make it so you are so different. Use it as a growth period. It's something for growth. Embrace your divinity.
That's beautiful. That's really good words for people. Really good words, because I think you're right. People don't look at it so much as opportunities, and probably see the negative side of things when something happens to them, rather than trying to turn that around. Can you tell me how did you find out that you had come on the other side of stage 4 cancer?
Well, very slowly. I mean, it's kind of like you get the chemotherapy and you get scans a lot. You get scans every 3 months. So, I mean, I knew at first I was getting shrinkage, and the lymph nodes return to normal. And then you hit benchmarks, right? Like first they tell you like, oh, you're going to be on this treatment forever until you die. And then they say, well, you're doing well, so we would like to get you off this treatment in 2 years. And then you're like, no, don't do that. I want to live. I don't know. I mean, you live every day as it is. I have scans next week. I have no idea what it'll take. I mean, hopefully I get another 3 months.
But being a healer, you must be so appreciative knowing that healing did in fact take place in your body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had done a lot of ego work, shadow work prior to to getting this diagnosis. But I can tell you that, especially in the beginning, that like parts of it's not just even parts of the body that are sick, or when you do chemotherapy, I mean, parts of your body are dying. I mean, it feels like you're dying. But like parts of my ego died. Like I'm not the same person that I was 2 years ago. There's not a lot that's very similar anymore. And that's interesting. It's like in yogic philosophy, at least in Kundalini, it's every 7 years we get a brand new avatar. And it's because there's not a single cell in your body that was there 7 years ago. And if you think about it, that's where we get that term seven, like the 7-year itch. It's like every 7 years we shift, right? And I feel like 46, the very end of 46 was a huge shift for me. A huge shift. And the thing is, like, I felt like I knew that it was coming. I felt like I knew that there was going to be a time. I believe in the concept of the higher self, that there is an aspect of me that vibrates higher, that's in a different dimension, that is in alignment, the closest to consciousness that is there, right? Or that I have. That's like kind of like a connection. And that every day I make the choice on what my vibration is going to be. And there's a choice every day I can choose to be in a high vibration, in alignment with that higher self. And by doing that, I mean, really, I can do anything.
Yeah, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, we're starting to wind down. I would love for you to shuffle that deck of yours and pull a group card for all of us here that are listening and watching, and give a message off that card.
Right. I'm going to pull more than one. I'm going to pull three.
Okay, pull three.
Okay. All right. So, first card is Earth. Make sure that this week we're going to want to really check in, ground ourselves. One of the really easiest ways to do this, and we don't do it enough, take your shoes off and walk outside. Walk in the grass, ground yourself, take some deep breaths. I want you to pay attention to the projection, our masks that we're wearing. Like, I don't know, make sure we're not wearing our resting bitchy face every day. You know what I mean? Like, shed the mask and just, allow yourself to be able to see things without the filter of everything that has occurred in our lives, right? So much of our interpretation gets shifted through what has happened to us in our lives about what's going on in the world. This next week, just drop the mask and try to look at it like you did maybe when you were 5 years old, when everything was bright and shiny and you were happy that there were bugs that lit up in the backyard, right? And pay attention to your dreams. I don't believe that when we are sleeping, we're really sleeping. I think that we're accessing a different dimension, and that we have a ton of information every night given to us about how to navigate the physical plane. And all we have to do is make sure that we write down that dream in the morning when we get up.
Yeah, I love that. And you're absolutely right about that, for sure. And yeah, I like the number 3, so I'm glad you pulled 3 cards. That's great. Yeah. So can you tell people, if they're interested in your deck, where they can get it at?
Sure. My website is www.livingsacredsoul.com. And there's also Living Sacred Soul Oracle deck on Etsy. Deck retails for $36. And go ahead.
Tell them about your workshop you're doing here in Lilydale for our season.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get picked to do a workshop there. That will be June 26th. It'll be the morning. I think it's like 9 to 12 o'clock. The class will be mantra, meditation, and sound. So we'll be doing working with mantra, so voice, working with mudras, or hands, and and there'll be a pull from Kundalini yoga, right? And so Kundalini, the yogic ancient yogic technology that helps us really program ourselves into having the physical existence that we want. And then I am also a certified sound practitioner. Kundalini yoga uses the gong. So I'll be using quartz crystal bowls, the gong for a 1 hour sound immersion during that class.
Yes, and I'm going to be coordinating that class for you. So I'm excited about that. So if any of you listening or here watching this, please come attend that class, get a chance to talk to Michelle, and I'm sure she'll answer any questions you may have, and just be around her and hear. You've heard her incredible story. So I'm sure she's a wealth of information about life and everything about it. So we hope you'll join us here in Lilydale for that. If you have any other questions or comments, please put them in our comment section on the Facebook page, and we will get back to you and answer those questions. Other than that, I can't thank you enough, Michelle, for joining me this evening, and for your insight and your beautiful cards. Thank you so very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. This is Enlightening Your Way. I hope you will visit our Lilydale Assembly Inc. page often. We are revving up for our season, and they're posting all the workshops and season highlights. There's a lot going on, and it's coming fast and furious. So check on the Facebook Inc. page for all that information. Also, I hope you will like my Wellness with Nancy Lombardo and Instagram, nancy.com.lombardo. Check in with that and like it. It has been my pleasure to be with you this evening. My name is Nancy Lombardo. I am protecting and serving your well-being. Until next time, good evening.